Hello.
Hi, everybody. Right now, it's just, we had some confusion and delay. You can tell I watch a lot of Thomas the Tank with my little boy, but some people went to the courthouse, but we're all remote tonight. So we may be a few minutes, but we are live streaming. And once we have a quorum, we can start the meeting. Right now, I think there's just Julie and I are here. When we get another member, we'll start the meeting. All right. Let's see. So if we have a quorum.
I'm here. Alex is here.
Great. Thank you. So we will start the meeting. So I'd like to make a motion to call the Town Board as Police Commission meeting of May 19th, 2022 to order.
Second, Alex.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. And so please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty.
with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the commission meeting agenda as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, announcements. Anyone? I know the town offices will be closed on Monday, May 30th for Memorial Day. But that's all I have. I don't know if the chief got kind of booted out here for a minute. And actually.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
You know.
The only announcement I had, sir, is on May 30th is Sergeant Pat Koch's last day here with us. He will be retiring after about 33 years of service with the town as both as a dispatcher, part-time police officer, full-time officer, and sergeant. And we will be doing a walkout ceremony for him at the 3 p.m. on the 30th. You're all invited to attend on his last day out.
Great. Right. If anyone has any public comments, please raise your hand and I'm going to Stana.
Good evening, everyone. The NPPRRC, members of our community who were tasked with making recommendations, gave you a comprehensive report with those recommendations over a year ago. The town board said they would follow the recommendations that they came up with. It is troubling to myself and others that the work which was meant to be carried out by all members of the town board, such as reaching out to the community, particularly those who are disproportionately impacted by these issues, to recruit members of the new police commission, was instead given back to the only African-American member of the board who had already done so much work as a member of the NPPRRC. At this point, I implore the town board to follow the lead of the NPPRRC in choosing members of the new police commission as they asked them to do. Also troubling is the fact that the report was finalized in March of 2021 and so little has been achieved. At a meeting several months ago, when I asked about the recommendation that all New Paltz government employees, the town and village boards, and all entities under these jurisdictions and the town justices receive training in undoing racism presented by the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, the supervisor stated that only 5 members of the town board, as well as the police chief and another member of the police force, would be doing it. And then they would evaluate the training for going forward. This board and the police are not qualified to evaluate this training. The NPP RRC were qualified, and you said you would follow their recommendations. The 7 of you haven't even done the training. Please keep your word and follow through. Being anti-racist takes active work. It is not easy, and it shouldn't be. It costs money, and it's worth every penny and the effort. Please lead the way and keep your word. We don't have any more time to waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I know we don't like it back and forth, but if it's okay, I just would like to say something very brief in response.
Please.
So it's done. I just don't want it should not be assumed that Essie's the only one working on getting recruiting people for this. It's absolutely not the case. Everyone, we've discussed it as a board. Everyone is doing that. Everyone has been doing that. So it's just, it may look like, she's leading that, but absolutely everyone, we've discussed, that this fact that we're all working on that. And we all are, at least I will say, I'll speak for myself, undoing racism, it's a priority. I heard that we needed more information and we were waiting for more information. And so just so you know, we're really looking forward to that. And I think it's very important. It's not by any stretch something that we don't think is important. So that's just.
I reached out to people as well. And as far as the more information, I was part of trying to get that information. Tracy Gibbons Hunter is not the only person who works for Undoing Racism. There is, if you go to the website, there's a form that you can ask questions on, and you can ask and work on this on. It's not, it's taking too long. It's taking too long. And as far as my comment that was specific.
Has the village board taken it yet?
No, we have not. I'm working on that as well.
Good.
What was that? Oh, yes. As far as your comment is for people, everybody working on reaching out to folks, I was talking about specifically really for our underserved communities, like, approaching people in the apartment complexes and such. But I don't want to go back and forth. The bottom line is it's been over a year and it's taken too long, and more could be done. And I know we're all busy, but if we want to be anti-racist, we have to make it a priority, and we have to work really hard. And if we don't get the answers we need from one person, we have to look for another person, and we have to keep pushing. And
it is frustrating, obviously that I too would like it to be quicker, and it sometimes is the way government moves, but we do think it's a priority.
All right, Edgar, do you have a comment?
You need to unmute yourself, Edgar.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the comments that Donna made. I agree basically with everything that she said. But I also want to say that it's not the end all, this training. As you will learn publicly in the next couple of days, another board in our town is in a major crisis as of last night's board meeting about their institutional racism in the school board. You will learn that. And I point that out because some of them have taken the training. So while I encourage it, it's not the end all in all of it. There has to be a personal commitment. At the same time, I'd like to make compliment the New Paltz Police Department. I've been working with Detective Matthew Sutton regarding the missing young lady, Maybelline. It's a public issue. And we look forward to a good outcome and her missing. We found the city and state that she's in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Not. I'll ask one more time. No comments. I will hand it over to the chief for the monthly report.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, sir. In terms of the monthly report, as Edgar had alluded to, we are one of the cases in the detective's cases is just that we are working on locating a missing 15-year-old, and we have been working with agencies in Texas and to try and locate her, and we are hoping for a positive outcome, as he alluded to, and that's one of the cases that's listed in there. And the other is just to note, our participation in the gun buyback that was held on April 30th up in Kingston. Detective Sergeant Sutton was assigned to that detail for us. And overall, it was a successful event for the county. That was a good day for us as well, because that was a National Drug Take Back Day. And I think we had close to 20 pounds of unused, unwanted medications that were turned in as well for that event. In terms of commendations, we had 5 commendations this month. The first was a commendation for Officer Kraus. This is related to a medical call that he had responded to at ShopRite. The person involved in this just wanted to, she was the calling party in this particular case. He had responded to a report of an elderly woman who had passed out in the store, and just wanted to commend him for his treatment and the aid that he was able to render. And made a note that if she was in a similar situation, she'd want him to attend to her as well. So the next commendation, again, is for noting actions taken by Officer Kraus, related to a medical. This was actually from New Paltz Rescue itself, wanting to commend him on a medical call where they had a patient who was hemorrhaging rather badly. And Officer Kraus did a great job in tending to the patient, providing the aid, and just wanted to let us know. Pleasure to work with him in the interactions that they've had. The third commendation is for Officer Bernhardson. It was him in response to he responded to, a parking complaint. And it was just a call from the person involved, just wanting to thank him for the way he handled the case, specifically noting his demeanor and the way he was able to calm the individual involved down. The next is a thank you. Kind of funny. It was it's signed. I don't know how to do this, but it's signed. It was to Officer Claude, wanting to thank her for the way she handled an incident earlier in the month with an intoxicated individual. Just noting that she was kind, compassionate, and he was great. They were grateful for that, and just wanted to apologize to her that she had to, I would quote, babysit them after they did one too many shots, and signed it, gratefully yours, a drunk idiot. But just wanted to thank her for her efforts that night. And then lastly, we received a thank you card for local family. We assisted with traffic control for a funeral detail, and they just wanted to thank us for that. I don't know if there's any questions regarding the commendations. Okay, if not, I'll go on to the defensive action reports. There are 2 incidents. For the first one, 4 reports were filed. This was documenting, in this first case, physical force that was used by the officers. They had responded to a report or an individual who was sleeping in someone's car. They attempted to wake the individual and speak with them, and the person eventually comes to. As they're trying to get that individual from the car, they become confrontational with the officers. They refuse to exit the vehicle. The officers were forced to physically remove that individual from someone else's vehicle. The person at that point in time was non-compliant, began struggling with the officers, who eventually took him down to the ground, physically directed him down to the ground, where they were handcuffed, and then eventually evaluated and released. The initial calling party did not want to sign any complaint. In this particular case, the subject involved was a 21-year-old male, black male, approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, 145 pounds, medium build. The sergeant who responded to the scene made sure that they were evaluated, and then, as I said, no charges were pressed for this particular use of force. Based upon the investigations, the officers' actions and were consistent with policy and training, and no issues with this. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Okay, so I'll go on to the next. This is a use of force that occurred subsequent to a DWI arrest on April 27th. It involves a 26-year-old white female, approximately 5 feet 2 inches tall, 200 pounds. The operator of the vehicle was stopped for a traffic violation. The officer, based upon the initial observations made by the officer, had reasonable suspicion that their operator was intoxicated, or their ability to operate the motor vehicle was impaired by alcohol. They conducted field sobriety tests, which established probable cause to place this person in custody. Once the operator was secured in handcuffs, they became confrontational with the officers. When I say officers, it was our officer and a member of the sheriff's office, that had responded to assist. They placed this person in the back of one of our patrol cars and began to attend to the vehicle and some of the other subjects that remained in the vehicle. While this was going on, the individual who was in custody slipped out of their handcuffs and began or attempted to exit the vehicle by crawling through the divider window that separates the rear compartment from the passenger compartment. They became stuck in that compartment. The officers happened to see that. The deputy and our officer go to the vehicle. They attempt to recuff the operator, who begins struggling. The deputy removes the operator from the vehicle, and then our officer directs her down to the ground, where a third officer applies a head segmenting technique to gain control or keep control of the subject while they were cuffed. The handcuffs were reapplied, and the person was placed back into the vehicle. In this particular case, based upon our investigation or the investigation of the incident, the actions of the officers in regards to the takedown and the cuffing and the head segmenting were consistent with training. However, corrective action was taken in regards to the leaving this individual unattended inside the back of that vehicle. We understand that the officers were attending to necessary paperwork. However, just counseled in terms of making sure that they keep an eye on that individual. Handcuffs are not are a temporary restraint, and the divider between that car was not secured. So that was something that we documented internally here. And I don't know if there's any questions regarding that.
I do have a quick question. Maybe I watched too many cop movies, but isn't it really hard to get out of handcuffs? Like, how does somebody just get out of handcuffs?
Some people are flexible. It's in this particular case, it they were able to have the cuffs brought around and get out, and they were able to get through. I don't know if it's maybe because of the thumb or just flexibility, being able to manipulate the cuffs from behind their back, and somehow got it right in front, and they were able to, as I said, open up the divider from that compartment into the main driver's compartment.
All right, thank you.
I mean, it's a good skill. I mean, yeah, superhero.
It's it's why we have to keep, we want to keep an eye on the people that we take into custody. And again, as I said, the officers were doing other parts of the job that are necessary after effecting that arrest, but why we stress being observant and vigilant of what's going on. So
Is that it for the?
that's it as far as defensive action reports, and there's really nothing else. Oh, the only other thing I just wanted to highlight in the training report, was just that officers Fazio and Childs in there, it notes that they entered the third phase of our department training. They actually, during the month of April, entered and completed field training. They are on solo patrol and both assigned to, I believe, the A-Line tour. And that's all I had.
So the last part, I guess that's all we have for the Town Board as Police Commission meeting. The town board meeting starts in about 9 minutes, so we can take a break for 9 minutes. Unless anyone else has anything they want to add now during the Town Board as Police Commission. If not, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right. In 8 minutes for the town board meeting.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, everybody, 6:59. We'll be starting in about a minute. I'd like to make a motion to open the town board meeting of May 19th, 2022 to order.
Second,
Second?
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. I have a few changes I would like to make. The first one is, we're gonna
Second, Alex?
second. And so the changes are, we're gonna remove number 1 and number 4, the executive session and the discussion about the police commission. We're still waiting to get all of the responses back from the people who interviewed. And I want to have a discussion after we have all of them together at the same time. And so we're going to keep asking to get those back, and hopefully we'll get them back soon, and then we can have a discussion about that. The next is I'd like to add item, I think it's 3. Why don't we just add it into where 4 was? It's item 7. Well, item 7C. We're adding Grace Lang to the list of pool hires for $13.50 an hour, and that's it. And so, motion to pass the agenda as modified.
Aye.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The announcements, all town offices will be closed on Monday, May 30th for Memorial Day. Another announcement is that I think it's in the paper, it's on the town website, but as town supervisor, I've declared a state of emergency. And the executive order that I've issued is to allow outdoor dining in the same way that outdoor dining was allowed for the last two years. Right now, case counts are as high as they were in January, early January. They're higher than they ever were during the last 2 summers when we had outdoor dining. Some people don't feel safe eating indoors yet, and this is a way that we can allow the restaurants to go back to doing what they did for the last 2 years without having to deal with all the paperwork and the site plan applications. They can do it quickly, and they can provide a safe, comfortable place for people to dine. That's the only thing. We're not doing anything other than just allowing them to go back to doing the outdoor dining under the same rules that they had to follow for handicap accessibility and everything else, with the way things are set up like they were last summer and the summer before. So that's just kind of an announcement so people are aware. It goes into effect at midnight tonight. We'll be reviewing it, but it's at least for 30 days, and it'll probably be longer than that. We want to have some continuity in there. The goal is just to let people feel safe while they're eating. And it's because the case counts have gone up. The CDC, we're meeting online tonight. The CDC has said that we're in an area of high transmission right now. So it's just, it's one of the few things that we can do as a town to kind of help stop people from getting infected. We all know that the most dangerous place is eating indoors. So that's why we're doing it. I hope That's not to go into too much of it, but
I just had a quick comment, Neil.
sure.
So I just wanted to say that I myself just got over COVID. I am vaccinated, got my booster shot, and I tested negative multiple times before I eventually had COVID. And I just kind of wanted to mention that as well, just because I know that I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had that. And because I had those negatives for a period of time, thought I was fine and kind of lived a decently regular life until I got sicker and eventually did test positive. And so I just wanted to do a personal PSA and just say at this point, if you do have any kind of cold-like symptoms, the likelihood is you do have COVID, and you should act as if you do, even if you do test negative. So if anyone can learn from my not so great experience, I'm happy to do that.
All right, thanks. And any other announcements? If not, we will, I'd like to open the floor for public input. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand and we'll call on you, trying to keep it to 3 minutes. Robert Feldman, please, let's hear your comment.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Robert Feldman, and I live in the Cherry Hill neighborhood on Bruce Street. I've lived here for 7 years, having moved from the village where I had previously lived for 25 years. I sought out this neighborhood after this many years as a reprieve from the hustle and bustle of the village. But many of the pressures that challenges the village, like noise, unkept rental properties, zoning violations, and traffic, have infiltrated our peaceful part of New Paltz. There are many examples of the problems that we're suffering from, and you'll hear others. I'd like to just raise a couple to bring to your attention and the kinds of problems we're seeing. My first example is a non-owner occupied home, and I'll make that reference regularly about non-owner occupied because I think it's an important distinction. That's subdivided into a counseling center and a rental property. So since the owner does not live there, this is a commercial building, commercial operation operating in an R1 district. The negative impact stems from surges in traffic during drop-off and pickup times. There's group gatherings of young people there and the parents are picking them up. The cars sit and they idle with their headlights on, and it just every day. And you know, there's other issues about lights and noise that impact me because I live close to this house, but this isn't about complaining about a neighbor. That's not what I'm here for. I'm trying to address what's happening to our neighborhood. And in this case, when these cars all leave, in particular, there's 7 to 10 cars 3 or 4 times a week that leave at the same time. And it's a real fast moving group of cars. And it makes walking on streets without sidewalks difficult. And that's a commercial building. It's a commercial operation in an R1 district. Another example, and we all hear about these, are the Airbnbs. So we have a property here on Howard Street, a very high quality home that's sold, and it went from being a single owner occupied family home to now what is essentially a hotel. They list it for $500 a night during the high season, the quality season. And the problems associated with this short-term rentals is on display at this house. There's parties every weekend, there's traffic, and there's new people there every weekend. You don't ever really know who's staying there. And it really is a hotel. So as you know, there's a housing problem in New Paltz, and in all ranges of people are having problems. My son in particular, he actually went to school with Dan, is trying to find a home in New Paltz, and it's really challenging to find a house that hasn't been priced out of reasonable means. There's a shortage of houses, and when they do come up for sale, they're being sold for more than they're worth, which is pretty dangerous, and they're usually cash sales. People in all levels are suffering, and when you look closely at who's buying the homes, and Matt's going to speak, and you were seeing LLCs buying these homes. And they're turning them into income properties. So I just wanted to make, you know, I like to offer suggestions, not just bringing the negative part. And I just would like to throw out two considerations. Some maybe you've talked about. One would be a 31-day minimum for rentals. So that way there can't be weekend rentals. And at a minimum, they should be 31 days. Another thing I'd like, if maybe there could be discussion about, would be a homestead tax. I think that only to be fair, people that live in R1 districts should be paying a different tax rate than people that are operating commercial businesses in R1 districts. So someone who's in a non-owner occupied home and is either renting it out for whatever purposes or operating a business out of that home and they don't live there, they should be paying a higher rate of tax, of property tax to the town. So that's what I have to say. I appreciate the time and opportunity to speak, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Thank you for those comments. I think that's really important.
Yeah, so we don't normally like go back and forth on this, but I'm happy to, when we get to the town board part of the meeting, we can have I'm happy to have a discussion with the other board members about this, your comment and Matt's upcoming comment. But we try not to go back and forth with the.
No, I
public.
understand, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
We'll bring this up during the meeting. Right, thank you. Matt.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate, again, the opportunity to speak. I will, for the most part, echo what Robert brought up. This is not something that has sort of appeared out of thin air, and I'm going to sort of summarize the letter that I had submitted to the board. I've been here now 10 years in the neighborhood, and I think the number of rentals has approximately tripled in that time. And again, this doesn't come down simply to rental properties, but we've seen a general deterioration in basically just abiding by general, respect of the neighborhood. And, to summarize, we want to keep the neighborhood attractive for all of our, it's all in all of our best interests to keep it like that. And we are sort of in an impasse because we're not able to communicate directly with landlords because some of them, the contact information is not available to us. And speaking to tenants is what obviously very, futile at best to walk over and speak to a 20-year-old and say, look, we want to try to, make a difference, but they generally don't have the responsibility or the wherewithal to follow up on this. It has to come from the landlords. And if an LLC is the name on the deed, it leaves our hands a bit tied and we feel a little bit powerless. And again, we know that this is the way the tide has turned. We're under the same stresses that the village has been for years. We just want to try to be proactive in knowing that this is not going to stop. It's going to probably become more pervasive in that sense. But a few examples, just in terms of parking on streets, trash cans left in the roadways for periods of time, trash on the grounds, things that seem innocuous, if it's a one-off. But when you start to see this over multiple households, it becomes very much apparent to the neighborhood. And we want to try to attack the root of this, which I think is generally non-owner occupied properties, because I think that their lack of presence is generally what is allowing this to happen. And I will echo again about Robert as far as, hey, I might be that person one day, but at the same time, we all want to play by the same rules because it benefits everybody. Some of the houses, as far as their sale prices, just a non-landlord is not going to be able to compete with someone that's going to make income off of this property. It's just not a realistic situation for the average family to try to live up to. And if I could share the screen for a minute, just for comparison's sake, is that possible? Just to show people the difference between what a property looks like that's an owner occupied versus a non-owner occupied residence.
Should be able to now.
Okay. Where'd it go? I haven't used Zoom in a while, sorry. Just to bring up two pictures of a side-by-side. This is the listing as it appeared in about 10 years ago. And next to that on the left is a photo of the current state of things with trash cans out, trash on the ground. The entire front of the yard is turned into a parking area. So again, small potatoes if it were a one-off, but this tends to be the trend that we're seeing.
You can't see your screen yet.
Oh, what is going on here? Share screen. Oh, my fault. All right. You guys should be able to see it right now. Any luck?
Yeah.
So yeah, just to put a side-by-side comparison of a Howard Street listing, Howard Street residence. And, you know, this is something we're trying to hopefully get to the bottom of, as far as we don't want this to continue. You know, just general lack of regard for codes and respect for neighbors and ability to even interact with folks that don't live there. They're just transients. And with that, I will stop sharing. But thank you very much, everyone. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention on a more official level, and hopefully we can have a discussion further.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. That was effective. That picture, that parking, the lawn disappeared. And I wonder, is that in code, Neil?
I think parking on the front lawn is in the code. But we could talk about this during the meeting.
You mean okay, yeah, sure.
We all got Matt's email earlier, so, but does anyone else have any public input they would like to share? Matthew Friday, please. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks so much. I know it's confusing. There's two Matts and we live right next to one another. Yeah, I just wanted to second what Matt Pielek said. But I wanted to add something to it. And Matt might have mentioned this. I apologize. I'm just getting here a little late. We've had a really good rapport with our local landlords. They've been, I think, for the most part, really good neighbors. And part of that is that, we know who they are. And so we're able to just, speak to them when an issue comes up. And I think in just about all those cases, they respond really quickly. There's a rental here on sort of the corner of Cicero and Rita Street, and I cite them as sort of a positive example of this. Is that anytime there's an issue, they respond, and they're really great at vetting the tenants, and they're just they really contribute to the neighborhood, and even the renters, who are primarily students, really are see themselves as part of the neighborhood. And so I think one of the issues we've run into, and I'm sure Matt brought this up, is just the inability to contact these out of town and sometimes out of state owners. And I just read through the new code that you guys have been working on. It's really fantastic, and I think it goes a long way to addressing this. I guess one of my questions is, would the contact details of the owners and the local managers, which I understand the new code requires, would those be available to the public? And I'm asking just because I think we'd rather be able to go in sort of a, congenial way and contact them first, rather than trying to involve the town whenever possible. So yeah, I guess would those contact details be available to the public if we run into issues?
We'll talk. I can answer that when I was going to talk about that when we discuss it as a board. But thank you for bringing that up. And basically, I don't know, but we'll find out. If we're allowed to do it, then we will. Any other comments?
Thank you, Matt.
If not, we will.
I did add one more thing, and apologies for coming in late. And I did Matt talk about the Airbnb situation?
He did. He did.
Okay, great.
We're going to talk about that as well.
Cool.
And so, with that, let's see. We'll why don't we, if the board is okay, why don't we have a discussion about that right now? So because you're all here, and then, if you guys want to stick around, you can, but we're going to get into some other stuff that's unrelated. But, basically I sent, when we got the email from Matt earlier, I responded, I sent him a link to the town. In November, we passed a rental registration law. And so your concerns are the exact reason why we passed this law. We've been trying to do this and working on this for a while. It does change neighborhoods when they become dominated by rental properties. You know, there's been a bunch of research and science on this. And so a lot of the reason neighborhoods are the way they are is because of peer pressure, good or bad. It's all about if you know your neighbors, right? And so when you know your neighbors, then you tend to kind of, you know, interact with them more and try to, like, if they mow their lawn, you mow their lawn. If they don't mow their lawn, you don't mow their lawn. Right now, we're trying to get people to not mow their lawns. But the problem is if there's a lot of turnover, then that people don't know, and it does really change neighborhoods. So one of the things that we want to do is we passed this law in November. It's Stacy is working on it right now. So even though we passed it in November, we're just sending the letters out to places that we think are non-owner occupied rentals. And so if you have a non-owner occupied rental, you need to register it and it needs to get inspected. And so if we don't contact you and you have one, you're going to have to do that. You should contact the building department. And that's for the safety of the people who live in the building. You know, there aren't new rules, but we're making sure that the fire and safety rules are, you know, being followed in the building. And so, but we also want you to have a local contact that we can contact when there are issues. So even if it's an LLC, we need someone who we can call up and say, hey, the garbage cans are out on the street. You know, they're by town law, they're not supposed to be out for extended periods. They're supposed to be out right when you're getting things picked up and dropped off, and then they need to be brought back to the house. There's lots of issues, and the opportunity when you do the rental registration and inspection, you can ask the town code officer, well, am I allowed to have people park on my lawn? And she'll tell you whether or not you are allowed to do that. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We don't have an Airbnb law yet. The village has one. We're getting requests from other residents in town to look into passing an Airbnb law. We're also getting requests for asking us not to do that. We decided to take the route of let's find out how many Airbnbs there are and how many long-term and short-term rentals there are by doing a rental registration process before we move on to the next step. So it's still on the table, but we want to find out what the extent of the problem, what that is first. And so that's kind of where we are with that. And I don't know if other board members have anything they want to ask about or talk about.
If I could just piggyback onto what you already mentioned, Neil. I very much support what Neil sent out to all of you as far as trying to get the rules right and trying to get an understanding of the situation so that we make the right decisions. Of course, we're very much in support of business and small business, and we know that there are people that are very looking forward to making a living or having an income doing rentals. I think owner-occupied rentals are great. They bring people in. It gives people an opportunity to come and get to know the neighborhood. And a lot of times you get the familiarity of the person who owns a house. So they tell you where to go, and it's a really lovely experience. And a lot of those people could come back and they could become permanent members of our community, which is really what we want. They might even be town board members, you never know, and started off in a owner-occupied stay. The problem that I see with a non-owner occupied is underlining everything that you guys already said, that basically you don't often know who the owners are. You can't reach out to them when there's a problem with the building. But furthermore, if you start looking at the big picture, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line in New Paltz, a lot of the Airbnb or non-owner occupied situation could possibly also be causing there to be a lack of affordable housing in our area, which we need desperately. So when you hear of teachers not finding homes, graduate students not finding places to live, students who need a place to live, and workers, people with a low to median income who are the backbone of all of our businesses, we have a problem because a lot of these people need somewhere to live. So there is the bigger problem along with the wanting to get along with your neighbors that we're definitely looking into. Affordable housing, big one for me.
Sorry, I'm muted because it's kind of loud here in my house. Any other comments, questions? But we're like, right now we're rolling this out and we're hoping that we're able to address some of these issues with both the short and the long-term landlords as they get their places inspected and they're kind of made aware of what the rules are. So in the past, I think there wasn't a lot of interaction between, landlords and maybe the code officer until things got really bad. We're hoping that if people are given copies of the rules beforehand, then they're more likely to kind of follow the rules. Like if they're told, it's like, look, you can't have, I think they have to lay out like how many bedrooms they're going to have and how many parking spots they're going to have. So they'll be made aware that they're in violation. And then if they continue to be in violation, they may lose their ability to rent because they won't be able to register. And so as far as making the contact information public, I'm in favor of that. If we're allowed to do it, I see no reason why we wouldn't do that, because that's part of doing business, that you have to put your name out there. And if people have complaints, then they get to call you up, just like.
I'm in favor of that too, Neil.
I think we should also have a mechanism to receive complaints.
It's a good idea. Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I like that, Essie. I don't think we thought about that, but I think you're right. I think that we should make it easy for people to complain. It's easy enough. We can have a special email address for that. And the town board or the code officer can follow up. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
I just
This
want to
might come off
also,
as semi-extreme as well too, but I'm not at all opposed to us also making complaints and violations public. That's something that they do in New York City. The Public Advocate's Office does, and that's an attempt to, in a very different way, try to curb how property owners are treating their properties and their surrounding communities. And I also think it's something that we could explore as well.
I just also wanted to commend the Matts and Robert for, being good neighbors and coming together and bringing the issue to us, because since we're dealing with this now, it really helps us to understand what the needs are. And it's really wonderful to see, communities coming together. So thank you, gentlemen. I see Matt still has his hand up.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead. We don't normally go back and forth, but if I missed something.
No, just a comment. I mean, our mechanism, the idea of a mechanism is kind of exactly what we're hoping for. We try our best to reach out as a neighborhood. We have the faltering of our neighborhood is why we're kind of coming to the town, because there's sort of an impasse with a few properties, and we don't want it to get out of hand for our sake and for your sake. So we're glad to hear that it's on the table, because I think that will be a huge benefit for everyone.
I'm glad we passed the law when we did. I think the letters are starting to go out right now. It takes a little bit of time to kind of get it all. Like I think we started with this law almost a year ago, if I kind of remember, when we started having this conversation with David on the board, probably in the beginning of the summer. And so, here we are a year later, and I'm glad we don't have to wait a year to kind of start addressing this. So hopefully we'll see some positive results soon. If not, we'll figure it out. But it's a real issue, and we hear you. Any other comments, questions? We can move on to number 2. People okay with that? So the second item on the agenda is, we talked a little bit about this before, but this is, we're making a map amendment. So when we did the Gateway rezoning a few years ago, we put all the different codes together for the Gateway Business, Gateway Hamlet, I'm missing the other one, but the resort overlay. So we did all the zoning out by the thruway and cut it up into a bunch of different zones. And we spent a lot of time with a committee to kind of work on the zoning. We then kind of had the map drawn by the engineers, and we probably didn't spend as much time on the actual map as we should have, but the lines for the different zoning districts were just drawn as straight lines, and they kind of crossed parcels. And we're now starting to see these issues because applications are coming before the planning board these are the first applications that are coming in. And this application is in a single 2.5 acre parcel, is in 3 different zoning districts. So instead of the zoning districts following the lines of the property, there are 3 different lines, and those different zoning districts have, conflicts. And so, for like the example I would use is that, they want to put a business into the Gateway Business District. And then they just like we want the businesses close to the road, and we want the parking behind the businesses so they seem more like walkable neighborhoods. That was a big part of the zoning. But because this parcel is divided up between the Gateway Business, Gateway Hamlet, and the light industrial, they can't put the parking behind the building like we want, because that's not allowed in light industrial, which is the back part of the parcel. And so they can't even do what we wanted them to do with the new zoning. And so they've asked that we redraw the map to have their entire parcel be in a single zoning district and not 3 different zoning districts, which is kind of unfair. You almost can't do anything because of the conflict. So they've asked that it be rezoned into the Gateway Business District. And so the map, it just reflects that. We're not changing the code at all. We're not giving them any waivers. We're just helping them comply with the zoning that we wrote. And so this is, to do that, though, we have to, we set a public hearing for a local law to amend 140-6, the zoning map of the code of the town of New Paltz. And so this is to set that public hearing for June 2nd at 7 p.m. And if anyone has any comments or discussions, please. And if not, if we could just, if someone wants to second that, we can set the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then number 3, when we do these laws, we have 2 more resolutions. One is to designate the town board as lead agency, and to issue a negative declaration pursuant to the requirements of the seeker. And so, let's see,
Second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And let me make sure I got that right. 2 resolutions. Yeah, so one resolution declaring us lead agency, and the second saying it's a negative declaration. So maybe
I
a
second the
motion.
negative declaration.
All in favor for passing both of those resolutions?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. And so the next item, number 5, is, we haven't really talked about this much yet, but to give people some background information, when we were doing the CEAs and we were asked by the Environmental Conservation Board to do these critical environmental area overlay districts, some of the comments that we received back from different people were that it's better to put these changes into the zoning and into the code instead of just passing a CEA. And so if you want to, actually really protect it instead of, pretending to protect it with a CEA, we should, put it down in the code, because that also makes it more straightforward for the people on the planning board and the applicants, because it's all written down instead of like, well, it's protected and you need to do an extra environmental analysis. And so we applied to the DEC for a grant to help us pay. And the reason we have not put all of these things into the code is because it takes a lot of work and it's really expensive anytime you modify the code. But we applied to the DEC for a grant and we were awarded the grant. And so we won't have to pay to look into putting these things into the code. And so we have, to get the grant, we need to pass a resolution saying that we're willing to investigate putting these things into the town code. And that resolution is on the town board. So it's the resolution in support of the Conservation Overlay Zoning Training and Assistance Project. We've posted it on the town website. If people have anything they want to talk about, discussions, questions.
Neil, I had one question. Does the grant completely pay for this? Are there no funds coming? Okay, it's all paid by the grant. Just checking. Thank you.
And so, there's an attorney and a planner. We've worked with both attorney and the planner is the person that helped us write the preservation plan, Ted Fink. And so, they would be working with us and providing us with details. Eventually, the town would have to decide if we're going to adopt these proposed changes. But, the first step is to, work on it. And we have a member of the planning board, I think maybe someone from the ANCB. I was going to participate in it as well. Some other community volunteers have said they'd like to come forward. And, it's probably a 6 or 8 month process, but we'll keep people posted. The idea is it's actually written down. If we care enough to protect it, we've put it in the code and it's straightforward for everyone. Just like the, the way your buildings are allowed to be a certain height, if we think that it's important to protect, wetland buffers or something like that, it's not ambiguous at all. So that's kind of the idea, that it actually makes things more straightforward in the end. So
I'll just say something that I would add to your sort of introduction, Neil, that I do remember the planning board was also mentioned that this would be a positive thing. I'm not saying that the entire board, perhaps, because I don't know that they voted on it, but I know that there was a comment, or and at least some people on the planning board mentioned this would be a good solution. So you mentioned the ENCB thought this would be a good solution, but the planning board also had some discussion of how this would be a good solution. So it's not, there aren't gray areas. And that was, the problem they had with the CEAs is they would be hard to, it wasn't actual protection, which we kept saying wasn't actual protection. But this would be, if it's in the code, there's things are much more black and white, and the planning board's job will be easier, and we like that. And I just want to thank the volunteers, in advance. I know that certainly it's going to be volunteers that have already done, an incredible amount of important work for the town. So I just want to thank them and those who are, involved. It's going to be, a really interesting process. I do think that the ENCB's work and Ingrid Heckel's work will certainly be an incredible resource for this group, because so much of the research has been done about what the resources are in the different areas. And and the other quick thing about when you were introducing it, I think you characterized the CEAs as overlay districts, but I think that was just a misspeak, and I thought for the record, I might clarify it. They're not CEAs, right? I mean,
no, they're not. These would be overlay district. Yeah. Right.
So this is just to clarify, because I think you said something that I thought I just
thank you.
Clarify there. Yeah, no problem. So great.
All right. Any Any other comments? If not, all in favor of passing the resolution? Or did I get a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's see. So this next one, number 6, there have been some things in the paper about this. This is a resolution authorizing commencement of litigation against Columbia Utilities, LLC. So we've posted it on the town website just to kind of bring people up to speed. It's been going pretty quickly. We passed a resolution at the last meeting related to this, but to kind of give people the background, when we passed, well, the governor had this reforming the energy vision, REV, Governor Cuomo, former Governor Cuomo, and that allowed towns to create these CCAs, or community choice aggregation. And so the town and village and a whole bunch of municipalities in the Hudson Valley, that we passed laws, and that allowed us to opt people in to the CCAs. And unless they could opt out, or they could choose something else, or they could choose Central Hudson. But what this did is it then allowed we then worked with a group, Juul Energy, and they went out and bought energy futures, right? And so we bought energy futures, and we could lock people in for like 3 years with a certain rate with green energy. And so we did that with tens of thousands of residents throughout municipalities in the Hudson Valley. And then, we know we've all had these problems with Central Hudson, right? And some people, if you weren't in the CCA, your electricity rate went from 6 cents per kilowatt hour up to 23 cents per kilowatt hour, right? And so suddenly it was really good to be in the CCA, right? And we were saving people lots of money. The Columbia Energy, they were the company that bought the energy futures. They're now claiming that because of all the problems with Central Hudson and the billing, that they're saying it's force majeure. Essie would understand that better than I would, but it's a way for them to get out of a contract, right? And they're saying, well, it's like basically an act of God. We can get rid of the contract. The thing is, like, that those energy futures now are worth tens of millions of dollars, and they can sell them to someone else. And all of the people that we put into the CCA are going to have to then find another source of energy now that the rates are higher, and lose the rates that they had locked in, that we locked in for them. And so Juul Energy is been working with the towns, and they're taking the litigation forward. We're only signing on as an affected party. It's not going to cost us anything for this litigation, but it makes, and we're trying to make sure the Attorney General realizes this, and the Public Service Commission, that this is not a fight between two businesses. This is an issue that is affecting our residents, and it's going to hurt them financially if they suddenly get booted out of the system. At the same time, Columbia Energies is going to benefit tremendously by being able to get out of what they promised our residents. My concern is that if this falls apart and people lose their connection with the CCA, I don't see the CCAs ever coming back. It's probably the death of community choice aggregation, because I don't see other towns. Even I would have a hard time doing this again, knowing that the people that we've committed people and we bought them energy for the length of the contract, if they can just be booted out anytime that the provider wants to, because they can get a better offer from somewhere else. I just don't see it happening. And I think that it's going to be a huge loss to the state of New York trying to reach the climate goals. So this is a resolution signing on to the litigation, but we're not signing on to any costs. I don't know if anyone has any comments or questions. Or
I second the signing of it.
No, thanks for explaining that. I think it's really important.
I agree, and especially since it's no cost.
Yeah. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion to approve and authorize 7A through 7, where does that put C, 7C, HI, no. 7P on the consent agenda. And that P is adding, I mentioned it, adding Grace Lang to the pool hires at $13.50 an hour.
Second, Alex.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I want to
Yeah.
welcome the pool hires. It's always sort of a fun thing to read for me to read the list every year, and it's finally happened. I know more than half the list because my daughter's about that age too. Just getting close, anyways.
Yeah,
It's, I talked to Bill today. The pool is full.
that's
We're
great.
ready to open in a week from tomorrow. And
Wow.
I was like, Bill, if we could open on Saturday, you'd make so many people happy, but we just don't have the staffing.
Yeah.
So, but we're scheduled and we're ready to open on time,
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend. So
That's great.
get ready for some cold weather on Memorial Day weekend. And
Those old pool woes are a thing of the past. Thank goodness.
Yay.
And so number 8 is a motion to set a public hearing for a local law to amend the code of the town of New Paltz to add a new Article 3. This is the video conference meetings to Chapter 24. This is, we've been having meetings like this now under the governor's executive order that allows us to have these remote meetings and not notice them for the places where we are. Right, so we didn't have to put our home addresses and say that anyone in the public is allowed to attend this meeting. That's been allowed under the governor's executive orders for the last 2 years with COVID. That is expiring on June 8th. And to allow meetings like this in the future, we have to pass a local law, and it has to be written out what is allowed, reasons that are allowed for us to have a non-noticed video conference meeting like this and we didn't make any of this up. These are model laws that were given to us by the Association of Towns and the states. They're very strict. Like we cannot have more than 3 of us on. We cannot. A quorum still has to be present in a place where the public is allowed to attend. But if someone has an exceptional reason, say they did feel like they were sick and they didn't want to expose anyone else to COVID, or there's a bunch of, if they had an issue with travel or something, and those issues are kind of listed. The attorneys have kind of researched it, and that's all kind of laid out here. But this is a resolution to set the public hearing for this local law on June 2nd at 7 p.m., 7:05 p.m. And if people have any discussions or questions, but we can also talk about any changes or issues people have at in 2 weeks when we discuss this law. But I'm open to it now too. And a second for setting the public hearing?
Second.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 And
No, I
then,
guess I do have a question.
yeah,
Since
please.
it's next week or next meeting, the next meeting is that will be past the governor's
Yes, if we need to, we can still have a meeting like this on June 2nd.
June 2nd
Is before the executive order allowing this type of meeting. That's
Yeah.
June 8th. And so the reason that we're doing this tonight virtually is that the town has been following the CDC guidelines for wearing masks when transmission rates are high in the public setting. So we're asking people to wear masks in town hall unless they're in their office alone. If we're following that same guideline, we would be wearing masks in the public meeting right now in the courthouse. And it's just hard for people to hear us on the mic while we're wearing masks. So that's why we're meeting remotely right now. But the next meeting, unless the numbers come way back down again, we'll probably be meeting similarly in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Is there any chance that the governor will extend it?
Yeah, I don't know. They might. The numbers are high in New York right now.
Yeah, they're very high.
They might. So, but we're trying to do this. If we pass this law, I think we would be allowed to continue to do this if the rates are so high like this. But we can find out for sure.
That's what exactly I was wondering, because you said that it requires 3 people to be, or at least 3 people to be present, and that's not this. That's different from what we're doing right now, and so it seems it would be nice to be able to do this as well. If we
they're being they want kind of uniformity, and they want people to follow it. So they were very specific in the reasons that you're allowed to have a meeting like this. So we can see. I think it may be the standards may be a little bit higher than that if just case counts are high. But we can look through it. But they've spent a lot of time. The state and the Committee on Open Meetings and the attorneys they're very specific of why you can do this, because they don't want people just not giving access to the public. So the next two, we put 2 resolutions declaring town board lead agency and declaring a negative declaration of this. And so I'd like to make a motion to pass both of those resolutions.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then the next one is motion to pass the May warrant in the amount of $1,752,378.20.
second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. The last is number 11. We've been having discussions. Oh, it's not the last one, but number 11, discussions about liaisons, and we're trying to put like a more uniform kind of policy. We've kind of had this idea, but everyone has a different idea of what their role is and what their responsibilities are. Different board members over time and different committees, and so we're trying to at least set a standard that everyone rises and does a certain minimum and also doesn't overstep, because there are no one now, but there are times when board members act like they're on the committee and they tend to run the show, and that's not really their job, right? Their job is to be a liaison between the committee and the town board. And so Kathy and I kind of sat down and just put some rough ideas down for here are the guidelines for liaisons, and kind of put those out to the board to see if kind of people are okay with that, and any changes, comments, please feel free. This doesn't have to be the final one. This is a first draft put forward to people, but the idea is that everyone's on the same page, liaisons and boards and committees, with a basic understanding of what people's roles and responsibilities are. And if people are okay with it, we'll just kind of send this out to all the different boards and committees so they're aware.
Neil, do you want to characterize any of the things at all?
It's on the town website, but so we kind of just say that town board liaisons are members of the town board assigned by the town board to a board or commission referred to here as committee. Their main job is to act as a link between the committees and the town board. Town board liaisons are not directed by the committee but work closely with the chair and members of the committee. town board liaisons are not members of the committee and do not have voting rights or business before the committee, but may participate in discussions before the committee. Their job is to advise the board or commission of any town board activities related to the board or commissions that are conducted by the town board. So, I mean, their job is to maybe answer questions that the committee may have. The committee say, oh, the town board should do X, Y, Z. And, the town board member may say, well, that's not really, we can't legally do that, or let me find out, and they'll know who to ask, instead of the town board just kind of doing things in a vacuum on their own. Our job is to help the committee do what they want and need to do, but also guide them into what their role is. And then they often have questions that they want answered, like the bike ped committee will be like, oh, well, the town should lower the speed limit on this road. And it's like, well, we can ask the DOT, but that's kind of the role. But it's also, we want it to be uniform, so committee's experience doesn't change with different liaisons. If they say, well, this liaison did this and I want you to do that, it's like, well, here's kind of the general guidelines. That's just the idea is to kind of make the experience more uniform and better for board members, liaisons, and committees.
Yeah, if I could just chime in quickly too, Neil, just because members of the public may be confused by the conversation of the dynamics, but the reality is that us as elected officials, there is a different power dynamic. And I certainly think that I've been at the table where people have asked opinions for things where they think that an individual member is speaking on behalf of the board, or that they need to do what the individual town board member is doing, and not even in a nefarious way, but because they see you there or they have those dynamics. I think that sometimes is confusing, and I think it's great to just be a bit more uniform and really be more of a resource than an individual dictating their actions, which, to be clear, I don't think anyone on the current board has done, but we've definitely had examples where that's gone poorly as well too.
I mean, if people want to, we can adopt these. If people have any other comments, we can change them, or we can, if people are okay with adopting these, and we can send them out. Any thoughts?
I personally am fine with them as proposed.
I'm fine with it.
As well.
All right, great. Well, so I motion to adopt the guidelines for town board liaisons.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So number 12 is Chris kind of sent an email around. This is the highways excavator purchase request. Chris is here. I don't know if anyone has any questions, or if Chris wants to make a comment at all. It's up to people. Have any questions, comments? Chris, did you want to say anything? If not, I mean, Chris is on. Okay, you're on mute if you want to say anything.
Sorry. No, I'd just like permission to use the ARPA funds to replace our excavator. It's 10 years old. It's starting to give us problems, and it's the primary piece of equipment we use for every department, highways, buildings and grounds, water and sewer, year round. Unfortunately, this thing has to run all the time. So it is crucial. We did have a fire in it, took out the wiring harness, and unfortunately with the electronics today, it's creating other problems. It's in the garage now in 30 different pieces. Hopefully it'll be back up and running on Monday. Can't rent one with a thumb on it, which is what we use to pick up brush. It's just a very crucial piece of equipment for us.
All right. Any other any questions for Chris? If not, all in favor? Or do I have a second? For the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 13 is a motion to permit and authorize the installation of proposed outdoor emergency naloxone stations by B&G. So if people have seen this, Phoenix is working with the Bruderhof, and we're creating these like emergency little stations, and we're going to have these naloxone stations, sort of like the defibrillator boxes, just around town in different places. On the rail trail, community
I think
center.
that's a great, great, great idea. It is a great idea. I have mine at the house, and then I think they tell you not to put it in your car because of the temperature thing in your car, but then I'm like, well, in my car is probably where I'd most need it. If I see somebody, that's where I need it. So I think it's an excellent idea.
And so, and they'll be, monitoring if they get empty, they'll replace them. So go ahead, Chris, you had a question?
Temperature, maybe that's an issue to look into, is temperature.
Yeah, they've looked into this.
Mhm.
Is B&E, is that buildings and grounds or?
Yeah.
And I can just as a side public service moment, if any of you still haven't gotten certified to use them, it's really easy. I mean, it really doesn't take long, and it's a wonderful thing to you feel good. You feel like you could really help somebody, and it's super easy. You
just got one, right?
Yeah, I've got two. Yeah.
Chris, you had a question?
Just for someone who's going to be installing them, have you thought about putting them in businesses so they can be monitored, and then maybe providing the business with a sign saying Narcan kit? Because I know stuff that's left out in the open. We've had problems with the Field of Dreams, issues up there. I don't want them to disappear.
Yeah, so they're going to have them in businesses. Kind of the idea is that, we're trying to flood the market, basically. We want to put these things everywhere. And the other thing is, like, people are like, well, what if someone steals it? It's like, well, if they stole it, they probably need it for a reason. And we'll just put more in there.
It would be kind of nice to have little stickers, kind of like, on the outside of the building. Oh, yeah.
Yep. There are going to be signs on them, and if the box is empty, they can text or call. It'll get filled. But
you mentioned the rail trail. Is someone going to be monitoring that, or is that something I should plan, like,
nope, they're
on
going to
my
be
morning garbage runs to go by and look? And
there's going to be people that are monitoring them. But I think a volunteer network, but we can ask about that. I mean, this is being run by Phoenix and a local group of volunteers. And we'll see how it goes. Right?
Okay, just
and I think
just a couple questions.
Locations that where they know there have been issues, and we kind of know they're needed there.
Okay.
Right? So that the idea is, like, make it so it's there when someone needs it. So all in favor?
I second it.
Oh, second. Thank you.
Aye.
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 The last one is we're still the person who Josh Finn. We had him build the tables at the courthouse. It was kind of a two-part project. There's a little bit of work left with putting in some more shelves near the court clerk's desk, and I think by the space in between, so the court clerks can have paperwork filled out and signed. And so we're using this is kind of one of the last projects in the courthouse, but this is to finish up the work. They match the tables. It's authorized to have Josh Finn build and install 2 ledges at the town courthouse for a total of $850, payable from the capital fund project.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I have. So thank you. Anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
At all.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.